Hey guys, welcome back. Today we have a very special guest on the channel who also happens to be named Jordan, otherwise I wouldn't have invited him on. But of course, he is better prepared to introduce himself and present himself in a good light than I am, so I would love to allow him to give you guys a quick elevator pitch as to why he's qualified to talk about getting promoted.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on, Jordan. Definitely great to be chatting with another Jordan. It's definitely going to be a great time. I am Jordan, and and I'm a senior software engineer at Qualified right now. I previously worked at Gusto, and I also interned at Twitter. And I've kind of been growing on different platforms like LinkedIn and Substack. I'm now at about 15,000 newsletter subscribers, and just kind of sharing what I know and my journey from junior to senior engineer, and just how I'm growing and any tips that other people can have so they can grow in their career. For my particular path, I started at Gusto as a junior engineer, and I got promoted to senior in 2 years. And so I just love to help other people try to achieve, the same or faster and their goals.
Awesome. Yeah, and to be clear for everyone here, the only reason I have Jordan on the channel is because he actually posts really good stuff on the internet. I read it as well, and so I'll be sure to link all of that in the description below if you want to go check him out after the fact. But today, I have tasked Jordan with the interesting challenge of talking about promotions. In this video specifically from the L3 to L4 level, or if you're not familiar with those, from junior to mid-level engineers. But hopefully in the future as well, we're going to be doing a second part from mid-level to senior. Anyways, we are going to get into things because we don't want to make this too long and get you guys bored. So I'm going to ask Jordan a few questions, and hopefully he's not going to struggle with them too much because he is a beast at engineering. So the first one that I've got for you today, Jordan, is basically, at least in my experience thus far at my first two jobs, I've been told that getting promotions are basically, something that happens once you start performing at the next level for a little bit of time. Of course, that being said, that kind of implies that you need an intimate understanding of the expectations at both your current level and the one above you. So it would be really great if you could help outline for us kind of what the different expectations are between a junior and a mid-level engineer.
Definitely, man. Yeah, so when you're a junior engineer and you first join the company, a lot of people actually come in with like different levels of experience. So some people, they might have been coding since they were 13, but they're not going to hire you, at mid-level right away just because you've been coding at, 13. And so you might actually come in and have a lot of the skills of a mid-level engineer, but it's still going to take you time, to get that promotion. On the flip side, you might also come in with, no skills and just really like wanting to be a sponge. And that is kind of what the expectation is and what you want to do. You really don't want to try to push yourself into the mid-level or senior role like too hard or too fast. You kind of need to do it delicately, because it's going to be weird if, you're a junior engineer and you're trying to like lead projects across multiple teams and all this stuff and trying to, like push your opinions, but you haven't really built up that credibility yet. So the main thing you want to do first off is really just build good relationships, and you also want to essentially show that you can be a sponge for learning and follow the existing team processes as a junior. As a mid-level, you would have showed that you have enough coding skills and independence to be able to take projects on your own. And you're going to slowly work on improving your skills to be able to lead projects and mentor others, and that'll help you finally get to the senior level. And like you said, yeah, you do want to essentially show that you can improve your coding wise and write, clean code and follow existing team processes enough for a long enough period that you will get from junior to mid-level.
Yeah, absolutely. I really liked the point that you made there about building trust. I think it's super important to be able to have that from the other members of your team. Obviously, when you come in as a new person, especially as a younger person, unfortunately, it's just the case that most of the other members of your team don't really know what you can do or what you're capable of. And so it's definitely important to be able to, gradually show them that without also being too overbearing and making sure that you're enthusiastic along the way. With that being said, besides just building trust, what are some of the other tips that you kind of have for junior engineers to show that they're on the right path to promotion and that they're growing and they're kind of moving towards that mid-level target?
Definitely, man. So for tips for juniors trying to get promoted to the mid-level, I think having a really strong bond with your other teammates is one of the best things that you could do. And it's actually like not as hard as you might, think it is. One thing that I love to do I did do as a junior engineer, and I still do, to this day, is schedule one-on-ones with all my team members. And I would normally do like maybe once every 2 weeks or once a week early on, and then slowly end up getting it a little bit more spaced out. And you can do one-on-ones asking for feedback, basically show that you're a sponge for growth. As if you show that you're passionate about constantly learning and you want to get to the next level, then others are going to be very willing to help you in that, because they want you to grow your skills and reduce their workload, if anything. So if the more you could do that and the more you can help them out, the more they're going to want to try to do the same for you. And that kind of brings me into the other point, which honestly is something that gets missed a lot, is if you can, in your one-on-ones with your manager, give compliments to the other engineers. That's one of the best ways that feedback can trickle over to them and them lead to liking you, so much more. Because imagine if you're a senior and your job is to mentor others and show that, you can level others up. If your manager is receiving compliments from a junior engineer saying, oh my gosh, this person was so helpful, that's helping them level up and helping them achieve their goals. And so the more you could just help other people achieve the thing, that they're going for, the more that they're going to help you out in return. Those will probably be my biggest tips for growing to junior to mid-level.
Yeah, I really like that. I think a lot of people often tend to, especially newer people, tend to zone in on the technical aspect too much. And I think you're right that just like through soft skills, through communication, through building relationships and making good bonds with the other people in your team, it's a lot easier to get them to like trust you, want to work with you, and those are actually really important things that can really take you a long way. I mean, you're on a team, and it's kind of important to remember that. But, going in the other direction, now that we've kind of mentioned some good things that you can do as a junior engineer, what are certain common mistakes that you've seen from junior engineers that might hold them a little bit back a little bit when they're first getting started? How do you think they can kind of rectify those and, put themselves on the right path again?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the main things typically come down to essentially like the opposite of showing that you can grow. Because it sounds like very, like obvious, but at the same time, I think people don't really, they often kind of miss this and aren't really thinking about it too much as they should. If you think about it, like the company is kind of investing in you as a junior engineer. You might be coming in and you don't really have that much skills. And their belief is that you're going to grow into mid-level senior roles, and that's hopefully going to happen pretty quickly. So if you're at the junior level for 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, and you're not really showing that you are learning from the people around you, then unfortunately, and I've seen this happen, like they often end up letting the person go because it's just not worth the investment to them. And so the things that you would want to do as a junior engineer to essentially avoid falling into this trap is being involved in team meetings. Don't, be shy. In your first month or two is probably one of your best times to just ask a ton of questions. If you wait, I promise you it's going to look dumber the further you wait along. So just don't do that. Ask as much as you can early on. And also, when your senior engineer is explaining something to you, taking their time out of their day to try to help you learn something, really make sure you understand it. Don't just say, oh, yeah, I get it. Yep, and just nod and go along, because I promise you the senior engineer will know that you're doing that. And it's also just going to hurt you down the road too. If you ask follow-up questions, really show that you're trying to understand everything, people will recognize it, and it's also going to be helping you in the long run.
Yeah, I actually for that last one have personally made myself that mistake myself before, and I've gotten called out for it. And I think it kind of, at least in my case, it resulted for me like because I was new, I felt that I wanted to like try and like grind out so many tickets or grind out so many projects. And like some older engineer was talking to me and giving me certain information, and I was like, to be honest, I just can't see how this is like relevant immediately to what I'm doing right now. And the truth is that none of the work that you're really doing right now is relevant on a long-term scale. They're generally small projects at the very beginning. And so like you mentioned, it's a lot more important to be able to kind of take everything in individually and try and remember it for later on than to just think, oh, like this is relevant to me, this isn't relevant to me. Because, your work is going to change a lot within the subsequent months. And also, again, it's just, you want to make the impression upon people that you not only want to listen to what they have to say, but you're also really trying to get better at the environment that you're in. So, okay, moving on to our last question. You've been killing it so far, but I got one more toughie for you, which is that, at least for a lot of junior engineers, I think there's some trepidation or some hesitation to come right into the job and be like, hey, listen, like I'm trying to get promoted in your first one-on-one with your manager. Certain people will wait some amount of time, but it's possible that they might even wait too long. So what is the amount of time, in your opinion, that a new engineer at a company, not even necessarily a junior engineer, should start reaching out to their manager about when to look for promotions?
It's a great question, and it's one that I feel like I've gone back and forth on, but I think there's a right way that you can approach it as a junior engineer. I actually thought that it would be maybe a couple months, after you start. And this is for any new job, really, but also for junior engineers. But I've actually talked to a bunch of managers recently, and they surprised me. They were saying that, no, actually, we like it if someone shows that they are looking for that growth early on, because it's just a good sign overall, because it means that someone actually cares. So the only thing is you just want to approach it in a certain way that doesn't seem too focused on the promotion aspect and more on the growth aspect. So you could say something, as a junior, something like, hey, in your first one-on-one, hey, I know that I'm new to the team, and I know that I have a lot to learn. I want to let you know that a long-term goal of mine is to get promoted to mid-level, and I really want to exceed your expectations just overall in general. Can we start to have conversations that help me and you get aligned on that, so I can just make sure that I'm knocking it out of the park with everything that you're expecting of me? And if, imagine if you're a manager in that position, like, of course, what else are you going to say? Yes, let's do this. Yeah, let's talk about this here. Here's what you could start doing. And, it'll only go smooth sailing from there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. If you're a manager and you know that your team member is coming in and ready to grow, they're going to take you a lot more seriously, and they definitely want to hear your long-term plans. All right. Well, Jordan, thank you very much for coming on the channel. Honestly, this is super insightful, and I think, again, people really don't put enough emphasis on the soft skills that it takes to get yourself, promoted in this industry. And for those of you who are viewing this video and appreciate what Jordan has to say, or just think he's a handsome fella, because he certainly is, please do go check out his newsletter, his LinkedIn, and any other content that he's putting out there, because I assure you it is all great. Anyways, guys, I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you in the next one.